Last time on Dragon Ball Z, the Dragon Team finds themselves in the midst of battle against the evil Cell. Goku, the greatest hero of Earth, has sacrificed himself to save it. However, Cell was far from finished. It was up to Gohan to destroy the menace once and for all. Gohan was able to save his friends with a one-handed Kamehameha, along with a little help from Vegeta and his father's encouragement. Peace has finally returned to the world. But when his friends tried to revive him, Goku refused. He realized that he might be the one drawing enemies to Earth, but he wished nothing but the best for his friends. Now the Z-Fighters will have to go on through new adventures without their best friend. However, one day and only one day, Goku returned to Earth. How will him using up his day on Earth early affect the Dragon World? The dead stay dead now. The true end of a hero. What if Goku stayed dead forever?
Before we begin, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and share with friends. All of that helps so much, especially if you want more parts. I hope you enjoy. Our story opens with the Sun household. It was a very special day for the family, as they welcomed their new member, Goten. Gohan helped out however he could, but it was mostly Lunch and Bulma helping Chi-Chi out. And soon enough, a brand new Saiyan took his first breath. He was a loud crier, something Gohan knew his father would appreciate. In fact,
So that's my son?
a voice was heard from behind everyone. All the friends and family turned back. They found Uranai Baba and Goku right behind. It had only been 9 months since Goku died, yet it was obvious to Piccolo and Vegeta that Goku had already been changing significantly. He was more muscular for sure, probably stronger. Krillin and the others hugged Goku, and he hugged them right back before stepping towards his family. The halo on his head lit up the entire room. The Saiyan smiled and nodded at Chi-Chi, putting an arm around her, lightly, and ruffling Gohan's hair. He then turned to his newborn, and they smiled brightly at each other. Goku picked up Goten, who instantly began to try and grab his halo. It was a good day for everyone, and they all spent their time as a huge family. Krillin, Yamcha, Vegeta, Piccolo, Lunch, the Ox King, Roshi, Baba, Chi-Chi, Bulma, Gohan, and Goku all celebrated. But eventually it came time for everyone to leave, and for Chi-Chi to rest. Goku stepped outside for a second, along with Gohan. Goku told him to make sure that his brother and mom will always be safe, but to make her proud in his studies, and to always try to help out others, even if it's just a little. They then sensed Ki approaching. It was Vegeta.
Kakarot.
Goku nodded, telling Gohan that he would be right back. The kid already knew what was happening, as the pair flew off into the wasteland. Vegeta and Goku had what would become their final match together. Though Goku tried to equal Vegeta, it was clear that Goku was stronger. Ultimately, Vegeta ended the battle with one final solid hook across Goku's jaw, sending him flying off into a mountain. Goku rose up to the sky.
I see you're still really strong, Vegeta, but you have to keep up.
Goku then showed off his Super Saiyan 3 state. Just for a second, knowing it would drain his time on Earth. He showed it off just so that Vegeta could have something to strive towards. Vegeta was upset, but encouraged to continue his training. The next morning, Goku said goodbye to everyone. Tears fell from people's eyes as once again they said goodbye to their best friend. Goku told them to keep their heads up and that he'd see them once they die. And thus, Goku was gone. This is where things really change. Now Gohan is in high school, but he hasn't been slacking in his training, though he's still not at the level he was before. Vegeta has pushed himself to the limit. He was never truly able to achieve Super Saiyan 3, since his living body couldn't handle it. He did train to master his Super Saiyan 2 state, however. Currently, Vegeta stands as the most powerful Z-fighter, right above where Gohan was during the Cell games. Maybe even stronger. Videl and Gohan's relationship begins to flourish after she finds out about the Great Saiyaman and tries to get him to join the tournament. However, without Goku being able to calm down for it, Gohan is completely opposed to the idea. Videl is upset and she enters the tournament by herself. Even still, Gohan does train Goten a little bit, and Videl learns how to fly. Gohan wants to see her fight, so he promises to go and see the tournament. But something strange happened a few hours before the tournament begins. Similarly to the future Trunks timeline, Kaioshin and Kibito approach Gohan before Babdi's plan is put into motion. They explained the situation to him.
A wizard named Babidi? Listen, I know Piccolo is vouching for you and all, but this is a lot to take in. I understand how you feel, Gohan, but you have the most hidden power out of anybody on Earth. I want to train you in our world so you can be the one to defeat Buu.
Gohan finally agreed. He told Videl that he would try to be back before her fight, but she was visibly upset. Piccolo told the other Z fighters through the world about the situation, and that they might have to get ready for something big. Goten and Trunks were kept out of the loop, but still overheard. And so, to the chagrin of Kibito, Gohan trained using the Z-Sword at the Kaioshin realm. Unlike the original story, without Goku, the Z-Sword never breaks. This means that Gohan never reaches his ultimate form, but does get stronger. After all, just a few hours of training with the Z-Sword showed off progress during the Buu arc. Though Yamu and Spopovich show up at the tournament, Babidi quickly realizes that there won't be enough energy there. Spopovich stays behind at the arena, while Yamu begins to travel around, collecting energy from anyone he sees. Slowly, Babidi begins to send out his army of mind control soldiers. News soon began to show monsters attacking the cities, and the Z fighters jumped into action. Piccolo over the lands of Korin, Krillin in Satan City, Yamcha in the north, Vegeta in West City, etc. Many side fighters such as Nam began to fight in their own cities as well, while Android 17 protected his park. However, the tournament arena was still in danger. Videl was the only one to try and help, but the aliens and monsters were too much for her. She was severely hurt, but it gave the civilians an opportunity to escape. Videl turned around to see the hulking figure of Spopovich. He slammed her against the ground, stepping on her head. It was all lost for her. In fact, it was bad for all the Z fighters. They were getting overwhelmed. It got to the point where Dabura went after Vegeta, the biggest power source. Vegeta was stronger thanks to his mastering of Super Saiyan 2, but Dabura had a trick under his sleeve. He sped on Vegeta, turning him into stone. Bulma and Trunks saw this, and Trunks did what he could to fight Dabura. He was nothing against the Demon King's might, and was quickly knocked away. Gohan felt his friend's ki quickly diminish, and he needed to do something. Shin nodded at Gohan, and they teleported to Earth. Gohan wore the Great Saiyaman outfit through the fights, using the Z-Sword as well. As Popovich was going to kill Videl, she closed her eyes, holding her breath. But she didn't die. Instead, she felt a heavy wind go over her. She opened her eyes, meeting Gohan's. Gohan lifted up his glasses, showing his dark eyes and a huge smile. Gohan held her far above the arena, but she could see Spopovich dead on the floor. She nearly cried with happiness. Gohan took quick work of the soldiers there, and then flew Videl up to the lookout for Dende to heal. Kibito and Shin agreed to help out Earth, where they easily defeated a large number of soldiers. As Gohan flew away from Videl, she promised herself to take him out on a date next time he sees her. The battle between Dabura and Vegeta had given a lot of Kili to Buu, but not nearly enough to revive him just yet. Gohan traveled to Capsule Corp after feeling Trunks' ki disappear. He passed over his home, seeing that Goten was helping out Chi-Chi effectively. Finally, he arrived at West City, landing in front of Dabura. Without a word, he began the battle, but Gohan was clearly stronger than Dabura. Trunks helped out however he could, but the Great Saiyaman didn't need help. Gohan struck Dabura with the Z-Sword multiple times, similar to how he had seen Trunks defeat Frieza long ago. It didn't kill Dabura, but it did manage to severely hurt him. Dabura tried to escape, but Gohan followed him. Telepathically, Gohan told the Supreme Kai that he had found Dabura, and they quickly showed up. They followed him all the way to Babidi's spaceship. The wizard was waiting outside, but tried to escape as soon as he saw them. Kaioshin stopped him from getting away. Gohan finished off Dabura with a huge Masenko, while Kaioshin and Babidi were struck in a magic battle. Gohan could barely comprehend it. Babidi was winning, but Kibito showed up from behind Babidi, grabbing him in a full Nelson. This allowed Kaioshin to paralyze him. Gohan was told to go down and find Buu's egg, and he did just that, bringing it up. Kaioshin was worried that the Kili was already so high, but just below the release window. He took a huge sigh of relief. Kaioshin teleported the egg over to the Kaioshin realm, while Kibito killed the wizard. All the Z fighters around the world finished off their enemies. Piccolo defeated Pui-Pui, while Goten and Trunks defeated Yakon. Things came down, and the world was at peace. Majin Buu's egg was taken to the Kaioshin realm, where it was buried deep underground, never to be disturbed again. Vegeta was freed from the stone, and he couldn't believe he was once again saved by Kakarot's kid. He was also upset at the fact that he had gotten so powerful so quickly. This motivated him to continue his training further. Three years passed, and Videl made do with the promise, and so much more. In fact, now we find our heroes at Bulma's party. There, Kaioshin warns Gohan and the rest of the impending threat that is Beerus. The god of destruction had just woken up. He did in fact meet with Goku, but not on King Kai's planet, but rather the Grand Kai's world, since King Kai never got his world back. It wasn't long before Beerus showed up. Thankfully, without Buu, Beerus is much more tame during the party until night, where he got tired of waiting. Like the original story, the heroes bring out Shenron thanks to Gohan's idea. Sadly, they don't have nearly enough Saiyans for the ritual, even with the reveal that Videl is pregnant. Now more than ever, Gohan wished his father was here. But then Vegeta thought of something. He has a younger brother. He told Whis all about Tarball. The angel used the staff to look for the Saiyan, finding him in a remote planet with his wife. The angel brought him to Earth, taking just about half an hour. Tarball was completely confused and a little afraid, especially when he saw Beerus. But Vegeta yelled at him to calm down. All the Z fighters egged Gohan on to become the head of the ritual, but Gohan noticed that Vegeta looked uncomfortable and maybe a little upset. Though Gohan wanted to see just what this power was, he was in no rush to get any stronger just yet. Thus, he offered Vegeta the opportunity. Vegeta smirked. He felt a huge, incredible aura as the Super Saiyan God power engulfed him, transforming. He thought back at the last time he saw Goku, and how he showed off Super Saiyan 3. He never quite managed to find out how to achieve it, but now he didn't need to. He was the strongest Saiyan, living or dead. Beerus was excited to see what the prince had inside of him, and the fight began. Gohan was amazed by the pure speed and strength of the form. The battle was incredible. Beerus saw some potential coming from Vegeta as they kept rising up to the top. Vegeta blasted Beerus with an incredible final flash, just as the God Ki faded away from his body. Beerus was pushed back above the earth, but he could see that Vegeta was now a mere Super Saiyan. Vegeta continued the battle regardless, maybe being a little more impressive than Goku. He was very aggressive, and Beerus was having a lot of fun. On Earth, Gohan, though he couldn't sense his ki, realized just how incredible Vegeta was. He wanted a power similar to this, to protect Earth and his family. He looked over at Whis, who winked at Gohan, before teleporting over to the battle. Vegeta and Beerus had one final beam clash before he was knocked out. Beerus was impressed, and similar to the original story, he wanted to see what this Saiyan had within him. Though, of course, he wouldn't expect anything less from the Prince of all Saiyans. Beerus went on to take a nap, and over the next few days, Vegeta asked to train with Whis. He was eventually allowed to after impressing him with some food, but made it a point to tell Gohan to try and keep up. Before that, however, Gohan had the brilliant idea of having the Super Saiyan God ritual done on him. It was an incredible sight, and Gohan's hair glowed red, and his aura a flaming orange. This was greater than anything he could have ever imagined. Tarball was eventually taken back to his home as well. One night, a few months after Vegeta left, Gohan was invited to train with the Angel. However, Gohan was a new dad, and he couldn't just leave. Whis acknowledged this, and told Gohan that he was invited anytime. Gohan went on to discuss this with Videl. She wanted him home, but she had a lot of help with Mr. Satan and Chi-Chi. Aside from that though, he also had a job and was attending university. But this Gohan is very different. He knew that he had to live up to his dad. He learned not to be complacent. Videl knew what this meant to him. So she suggested that Gohan could go on the weekends or something like that. Gohan agreed to do just that. This means that Gohan never gets as strong as Vegeta, but the two do get some time to train together. Vegeta never quite got respect for Gohan though. He didn't see him as a fit follow-up to his father. Since Gohan stayed the majority of the time on Earth, Vegeta was able to not worry about his family or anything like that, and just continue his training. This Vegeta ends up being the strongest fighter in the universe. Gohan is close behind, but he likes training. It wasn't long before the darkness fell upon the world again. Frieza and his force had returned. Fueled by his anger against the Saiyans, Frieza sought to kill them all. Thankfully, the Z Fighters were ready. Gohan was at home with Pan when he felt the power levels of hundreds of Frieza soldiers. Soon, the Z Fighters arrived at the scene. Nothing to worry about. Tenshinhan, Krillin, Roshi, Piccolo, and Jaco all fought the various soldiers, while Gohan focused on the big bad. Tagomon Shisame tried to attack Gohan as he walked towards Frieza. Gohan activated his Super Saiyan God state as they rushed onto him. The moment the two soldiers touched his aura though, they were blasted off and knocked out without warning, as if a huge shock of electricity coursed through their body. They never called down Vegeta. There was no need to have him. Gohan was enough. Vegeta would have just been overkill. Now he had Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. But anyways, Frieza was surprised, but he stood on his chair. He began to monologue about the power of his new form, but Gohan wasn't having it. He learned from Cell, Babidi, and every enemy he had fought since his father's passing to not toy with his enemies. Gohan attacked quickly, blasting Frieza onto the air. Frieza tried his hardest to transform into his final state, but Gohan was relentless. He knew just how evil Frieza was, and he was not going to forgive him. At one point, Frieza got the chance to get into his final state, but not his golden form. Frieza attempted the same trick he tried on Goku, using the Kienzan. Gohan dodged it just like Goku, but Frieza was expecting this. The discs came back instantly, following Gohan. Krillin screamed out Gohan's name, as it looked like he was being struck by them. Frieza laughed loudly, but then he realized something. The hum of the discs didn't disappear. Frieza looked back and saw Gohan riding the discs towards Frieza. Frieza tried to redirect them, but just as he started doing this, Gohan flipped from them and in front of Frieza, firing a giant Masenko that instantly destroyed the Emperor. The Frieza forces that remained shook in their boots, and it wasn't long before they were all gone. Gohan, who didn't much care for fighting, used this power to end the conflicts quickly and efficiently. Vegeta simply brushed it off when he was told about what happened. Deep down though, he was proud of Gohan. Peace came by once more, and Gohan had a little more time to train with Whis. The Z Fighters were inspired by Gohan to train more and more, as he showed them that Earth was worth protecting even while taking care of their families. Vegeta largely remained at Beerus' planet. However, trouble loomed over them, as Champa, Beerus' brother, challenged Universe 7 to a tournament. The adventures continue for our heroes, but it's time to pass it over to SaladSaiyan. Take it away.
Thanks for the smooth transition. I'll pick up the story from here. We pick off after Resurrection F. In terms of everyone's lives, given that Gohan is so much more motivated to train here, that eventually ends up spreading to Goten and Trunks. I mean, Goten is his brother after all, and Trunks is around Goten a lot, so they're going to be training with him a little bit. This leads to them having a little bit of increase in power, and they actually are able to unlock Super Saiyan 2 here, which they still don't have for some reason. Toriyama, please. But that means they have a noticeable increase in strength here, and they're more motivated to train. And that's good because the next thing to come up is the Universe 6 tournament. Champa ends up arriving into Universe 7, and that sets up the tournament between the two universes. Vegeta's obviously going to be on the team, being the one to train with Beerus, and now he's tasked with recruiting some more members. His top picks are Gohan and Piccolo, who obviously will join. In terms of the other two members, I don't think Monaka would be here because Vegeta would be motivated enough to not need Monaka there, so that leaves two open slots for the team. Naturally, Gohan and Piccolo would probably suggest Goten and Trunks given how often they train with them, and they'd want to see them actually perform here for once. They've had a lot of training, but some good battle experience could help them out a lot, so they do end up joining the team. Gohan is still training to work towards Super Saiyan Blue, but luckily for him, they have about 3 days before the tournament begins to actually train up. But what's he gonna do in 3 days? Well, the Room of Spirit and Time, of course. He heads in with Vegeta, and he's actually able to unlock Super Saiyan Blue, and the two of them continue their training. Not only is it great that he has access to this form now, but both of them get a lot stronger from it, and that leads us directly into the tournament itself. The first matchup is Goten versus Batamo. Goten does have a lot of trouble at first trying to knock Batamo out of the ring, but knowing how flashy he is when fighting, I'm sure he'd be able to find out Batamo's weakness eventually, the fact that he's stretchy to a fault. With one full power punch, flying forward at full speed as he does so, he stretches Batamo to the point where he's slingshotted out of the ring. Goten then moves on to fight Frost, and he does hold his own for a little bit, but he's eventually affected by the poison and gets knocked out because of it. Next up is Piccolo, who's wary of fighting Frost, and then he's able to actually notice what's going on. He does get hit by the needle and gets knocked out, and once he gets back up he tells the ref about it. Frost then gets disqualified. Next up we have Trunks versus Vegeta. Similar to Goten, Trunks can't really figure out a way to knock this guy out, but knowing how Trunks is, he eventually does end up throwing an insult towards Vegeta, and then they find out the weakness of the Metal Men. And once they figure that out, it's not too hard for Trunks to get the win because he can come up with some pretty creative insults. Next up is Trunks vs Kaba. In terms of their base, I see that Kaba is actually ahead of Trunks, which causes him to go up to Super Saiyan, then Super Saiyan 2. Kaba's completely amazed by what's happening, and he doesn't know exactly what Trunks is even doing. This does inflate Trunks' ego a bit because of Kaba looking up to him. Kaba wants to learn how to do this, but Trunks doesn't really know how to teach him. He can't teach Kaba, but he can show him the awesome power of Super Saiyan 2, and the two of them start fighting again. However, I feel like Kaba still might be able to get a win here. Base Kaba was keeping up with base Vegeta here, and Super Saiyan Kaba was keeping up with Super Saiyan Vegeta here, so even with his power boost, I don't know how well Trunks would fare here. Kaba takes the win, and next up, Gohan is versus Kaba. Now is not the time to teach Kaba about this form, but Gohan does promise that if he wants to learn it later on, he'll see what he could do about it. The fight's pretty brief, but Gohan does end up winning. And finally, Gohan's up against Hit. And it's a pretty quick fight and Gohan's knocked out. They're able to find out Hit's ability, and Gohan tells Vegeta what he saw in the ring, and informs him about what he heard about Hit. Vegeta's the last one up, and somehow he's going to have to overcome this time skip. Somehow, even in blue, Gohan wasn't enough. He barely was able to get a couple hits on Hit. Vegeta's up in the ring, and he has a strategy. Knowing how Vegeta likes to brute force things, that's kind of what he's going to do here. From the start, he goes to his absolute full power, not holding back at all. So how would he fare against Hit here? Well, given Vegeta's motivation to train and how strong he's gotten in the last parts, and how he got a head start on Super Saiyan God and training with Beerus, I wouldn't really be surprised if Vegeta was stronger than his normal self here. More so than Blue Goku even. He's not on the level of Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10 Goku, but his strategy of brute force and attacking unpredictably, it actually works against Hit and actually trips him up a bit. He makes it as quick as possible and he doesn't care about expending stamina or energy. And it's good that he feels that way because it ends up working in the end, and he's able to knock out Hit, but only barely. Hit has barely been able to power up his time skip, and because Vegeta went all out from the start, it didn't let Hit get any advantage later on. And that's the end of the tournament, which leads us into the future Trunks arc. Of course, this time though, there's no Goku Black, it's Vegeta Black instead, because that's the only person Zamasu could really steal a body from. After seeing Vegeta's performance, he's the most likely candidate for a body swap. Vegeta Black is born and he begins attacking Trunks' timeline. Trunks eventually arrives in the past like normal, and things go pretty much like usual. Vegeta Black shows up and Vegeta fights him, the time machine gets repaired, and then eventually they prepare to head to the future. One big difference here is that Zeno doesn't have a friendship with Vegeta like he did with Goku, and he never summons him. While Beerus and Whis are off on their own going to find Zamasu in this timeline, Zeno never has his interaction with anyone and gives them the Zeno button, so they're not going to be able to rely on that this time. Instead, this time Gohan joins them in coming to the future, and Trunks is really glad to see him here and how strong he's gotten. They all head into the future, and they encounter the fabled Vegeta Black. Overall, the first encounter with Vegeta Black and Zamasu isn't too different. They get their asses whooped and they realize that Zamasu isn't able to be killed because he's immortal now. So for now, everyone decides to retreat and they have to come up with a new option of defeating him. Once they arrive back in the past, they tell Beerus and Whis what they saw, and just like they thought, Beerus and Whis realize that Zamasu is the bad guy here. So they eventually end up checking back in on him, and that leads to him getting erased. Well, at least in this timeline. For the future, Vegeta, Gohan, and Trunks are on their own. They gather together with some of the other members of the Dragon Team, trying to come up with a strategy. Piccolo's there and he actually comes up with a pretty good suggestion. Having known about this move, and nearly experiencing it firsthand, he suggests trying to learn the Mafuba, a powerful move that Master Roshi might be able to teach them. Sure, it doesn't kill Zamasu, but containing him is probably their best option. They thank Piccolo for the idea, and eventually Gohan and Trunks head over to Master Roshi to see what's happening. Rather than heading over with them, Vegeta decides to train on his own instead. Gohan and Trunks ask Master Roshi to teach them the move, and of course he accepts this offer, especially after he hears about what's going on in the future. He tells them it's pretty wise to come here, as this may be their only way of defeating an immortal enemy. It takes a little bit of time, about a few days, but Gohan and Trunks are actually able to learn the move. Both of them decided to learn it just in case one of them gets caught up in a fight or something. Better to have 2 Mafuba users than 1. After a few days pass and they learn the move, the group decides it's time for round 2. Just in case, Vegeta's trained up a bit and he's a lot stronger now. Even though they can't take down Zamasu, he might be able to take on Vegeta Black. It serves him right too. He doesn't want anyone impersonating him, and if anyone is to kill him, it'll be Vegeta himself. The 3 of them hop back in the time machine and head back to the future. Once they're able to coax the 2 Zamasus out of hiding, they then launch their assault. Their plan was to split the 2 of them up, which will bring them to their weakest. Gohan and Trunks can face Zamasu, Well, Vegeta Black will get an unexpected taste of Vegeta's new power. We all have seen how Vegeta loves to abuse the room of spirit and time. What's another day to him? Their plan ends up working. They split the two of them up, and they get them far enough away from each other. Gohan faces Zamasu alone as a distraction while Trunks prepares the Mafuba. Thankfully this time, Gohan and Trunks make sure that they don't forget the seal, so they actually came prepared here. Gohan's able to get some really good hits on Zamasu, but of course they do nothing since he's immortal. Zamasu mocks the two of them for thinking they're able to defeat him, but Gohan reveals that he was just there to distract him. Zamasu's confused, and then he looks behind him and sees Trunks preparing some move. He stretches out his hands, and then suddenly, Zamasu's sucked into a vortex. Trunks is able to successfully place him in the container, and quickly, they place the lid and the seal on top of it. Other than Trunks being a little out of breath, it seems overall successful. Far away on the complete opposite side of the city, Vegeta's facing his imposter. Vegeta Black's confused. How did Vegeta get this strong so quickly? Before he was almost nothing, and now they're comparable in power. The two of them have a very evenly contested fight, where the imposter of Vegeta brings up some pretty special moves. But even with flashy attacks such as a sickle made of ki, and whatever those clones of himself are, eventually, both of them then realize that something's wrong with Zamasu after they see what's happening on the far side of the city. A big flash of light appears, and a thunderous crash occurs. Vegeta Black laughs it off, thinking that Zamasu just finished the two of those hybrid Saiyans off. But in response, Vegeta chuckles. He reveals what's happened. Zamasu is now sealed in a container for good. Of course, Vegeta Black doesn't believe this right away. There's no way they'd be able to contain Zamasu. His fears are then realized as Gohan and Trunks then arrive. With no Zamasu present, they've safely stowed the container away somewhere, and plan on bringing it to the past to get rid of it completely. Black realizes that Vegeta wasn't actually bluffing, and now he faces some sort of challenge. Even if he was matched with Vegeta, now he's facing Gohan and Trunks as well. This completely turns the tide of the battle, and now Vegeta Black ends up getting defeated, and he actually gets killed. How foolish. Too bad he wasn't immortal as well. What a terrible excuse for an imposter. The team is won with Zamasu and Vegeta Black now defeated. Well, Zamasu's contained. He's not really defeated, but they consider it a win. They head back in time and hand off the container to Beerus and Whis, who will decide to do something with it. Trunks thanks everyone for their help, and he heads back to the future with Mai, happy to know that they can live in peace once more. Overall, it was a pretty success them not forgetting the seal for the Mafuba this time, and it all went pretty well. Like normal, time ends up passing, and then out of nowhere, Universe 7 gets news of the Tournament of Power from Beerus. They weren't even invited to the Zen exhibition match because there was no Goku and Zeno relationship, and they only hear it after the fact. Beerus and Shin are kinda panicked, telling them that they need to find a team of 10 to fight for the universe. With Vegeta being a star student and the strongest one, he tasks Vegeta with being the leader of the team, trusting that Vegeta will be able to find some good candidates. The first few choices are pretty obvious. We get Gohan and Piccolo on the team, who then bring in Goten and Trunks. Alright, they got 5, that's a pretty good start. But how are they going to find 5 more? They all decide to split up. Piccolo and Vegeta head off to recruit Tenshinhan, while Gohan goes to recruit 18 and Krillin. They are successful, which leads to 3 more members on the team. And with 18 there, they decide to ask where 17 is. Piccolo tries to go off and recruit 17, given their past encounters and how he's really the only one who's interacted with him. It starts off a little awkward, but they begin shooting the breeze and Piccolo finds out that he's defending this island and he doesn't really want to leave. Even with the potential encounter with the poachers, 17 probably won't join here because there's no one to protect the island while he's gone. One of the reasons he actually volunteered to go was because Goten and Trunks were protecting his island while he wasn't there, but of course they're in the tournament now, so he doesn't really want to leave it too much. A little bit irrational because if the universe gets erased, there's no island, but we saw how stubborn he was in the main series. Plus, since it's Piccolo there and not Goku, I'm not sure how well Piccolo will be able to convince him, compared to how Goku did. This leads to an issue. They need 2 more members. Roshi ends up joining as well, which is great, but they're still 1 short and it's coming down to the wire. They're trying to come up with something, but then Gohan comes up with a weird suggestion, something that sounds impossible and involves reviving someone. Beerus and Whis doubt it will work, but they allow him to go anyways. Gohan's able to consult Baba, and he's brought into the afterlife. He ends up in a strange, colorful area, where the person he wanted to talk to is supposedly located. And off in the distance, he sees that person, someone who he never thought he'd see again. He's surprised he was able to convince Baba to let him do this, but considering the universe is at stake, she would let it happen. Normally she wouldn't let this person get revived, but considering the threat, she lets it slide. Gohan approaches the man. The man turns around and sees it's Gohan, and immediately they hug. Wait, did he just hug Frieza? No, this man isn't Frieza. The exact opposite actually. It's none other than Goku. Both of them are really glad to see each other, and Goku's actually surprised that Baba allowed him to be revived for 1 day. But I guess the circumstances are a little weird. It's been so long since he got to see Gohan or anyone else. and no question about it, he's not going to take any convincing. I mean, the universe is at stake and it's a tournament, of course he's going to join. There is one thing though. Gohan wants to test out his dad's power first, just to get a gauge of where he is. While in the afterlife, Goku has picked up some new tricks. He has been watching it on Earth occasionally and seen what's been going on, and while Gohan and Vegeta have those weird god forms, Goku was able to come up with two pretty weird techniques. He fights Gohan first using Super Kaioken, a combination of Super Saiyan and Kaioken, which he's able to do since he's dead. Yeah, it's not canon, but it's not something completely impossible, especially since Goku's dead. Gohan's actually impressed. Goku's not really near the level of him and Vegeta, but he's still very powerful on his own. He definitely got some really good training in the afterlife. But that's not all. He unlocked a new transformation as well. He powers back into normal Super Saiyan, and then he starts transforming once again. He directly ascends to Super Saiyan 2. No one Gohan is very familiar with this, but he fills Gohan in on something. There's another form above Super Saiyan 2. He begins to power up. His hair grows, his eyebrows disappear. Goku shows off his newest transformation, Super Saiyan 3. He's dead, and with all the training he's got, he's actually really strong in Super Saiyan 3. Not on the level of Blue Gohan or Blue Vegeta, of course, but he's had so much training with it that he's probably going to be one of the strongest people on the team. And he does have a few tricks up his sleeve, but he doesn't show them right away. Gohan's glad that they got to spar, but they need to get back to Earth. Everyone's relieved that Goku's here now for the 10th member of the team, especially Chi-Chi, who's really glad to see him, and Goten, who actually gets to see his father here. A brief reunion occurs, but eventually they have to leave for the tournament. Everyone wishes them luck as Universe 7 heads off to the world of Void. The tournament begins, and overall the team's pretty similar, with Android 17 and Frieza being replaced by Goten and Trunks. But besides that, all the same members are on the team. Things start off pretty quickly and universes start getting eliminated right away. Universe 7 is able to get a lot of knockouts, but then they end up losing some members of their team like Krillin, Tenshinhan, and Roshi. Goku doesn't actually train with Kale and Caulifla here, and the thing is they know about Super Saiyan, but Kaba wasn't actually able to access it on his own, and they're hoping to access it here in the tournament. Sadly for them though, that means they're a lot weaker here and they're not able to contend that well. Kaba and Caulifla get knocked out, and Kale could potentially have a rage moment here, but I feel like without anyone else there, she would eventually get knocked out as well, either by Jiren or someone else when she calms down. And speaking of Jiren, there's no encounter with him and Goku with the Spirit Bomb. No one messes with him for the first parts of the tournament, not even Vegeta or Gohan. The tournament starts ramping up. More and more universes are dropping out, and eventually the numbers are dwindling. While Universe 7 did lose 3 members, they're still able to hold their own pretty well. Goku ends up fighting with Goten and Trunks a lot, trying to mentor them in some way. Against Universe 4, they lose members like Piccolo and 18, but they eliminate that universe in response. Against Universe 2, Goku's eventually tasked with fighting Brienne in her giant form. She's actually a pretty powerful opponent, but Goku has something up his sleeve that he hasn't shown yet. With him being dead, he tries something out that he wouldn't normally be able to handle, something that goes far beyond what anyone expected of him. He powers up to Super Saiyan 3 and begins getting serious against Brienne, and he's actually holding his own pretty well, but he's not making too much progress against the giant. Very briefly though, his power suddenly increases immensely, and he's able to take her out with one giant punch. It was too quick for anyone to even notice, but Gohan has a suspicion of what Goku just did. He briefly meets up with Goku and tells him what he saw. He knows that Goku was holding something up his sleeve for a surprise. Something way stronger than Super Saiyan 3 or Super Kaioken. For that very brief moment, Goku combines Super Saiyan 3 with Kaioken. It's something he's not normally able to do for prolonged periods of time, but for a brief punch like that, it's able to completely overpower and outspeed his enemies. Gohan's pretty impressed. Even without god forms, Goku's been able to come up with some pretty creative techniques. The tournament continues and eventually more people get knocked out. Goten and Trunks aren't able to keep up at this level and they eventually fall too, leading 3 members to be left, Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan. They're able to take out Dispo and eventually Toppo, but then they're faced with the Jiren. Jiren's barely been fighting, and when he has, he's been holding back severely. Will they even be able to take him on? The answer? No. The gap in power is too severe. There's no Ultra Instinct, and there's only 3 of them left, so they can't even come up with some really weird strategy to defeat him. Even if they try to break the ground below him and tackle him out or something, he's of course going to catch on and they probably won't be able to do that. In terms of raw power, they can barely even touch him, and he's pretty suppressed right now and they still can. With very minimal effort, Jiren ends up knocking all 3 of them out, and he wins. Jiren then makes his wish, to revive his master Gichin. Nope! Zeno erases him and Universe 11. This isn't the outcome they expected. Instead of someone wishing to revive all the other universes, he decided to use the wish for himself. Even if he was reviving someone, it was still for selfish reasons, thus leading to the bad ending, where everyone is permanently erased. Kinda depressing, but I guess that's the end of the story. So what did you guys think about this what if? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, and if you haven't already, why not subscribe?
Thanks, Salad. I hope you guys enjoyed this complete story of our collab together. He will have his own complete story of a collab we did together as well, if you want to check it out. Rather than have a Dragon Ball question of the week this week, I'm giving a shout out to 2 wonderful artists. We've been having an art contest in my Discord, which you can check out in the description below. First up is Warpstar, who won the first part of the art contest, as they made an OC, the mute daughter of mercenary Tao Pai Pai. I really like her design. And next up, we have Trunks' daddy, who made an awesome rendition of the Supreme Kai of Time, and was the winner of the second part. The third part of the art contest is drawings about my channel. What if characters, scenes, and my channel avatar. If you want to enter, the link to the Discord is in the description below. Congratulations, guys. Awesome art. But anyways, guys, until we meet again. See ya.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to SmugStick, unless you want to be destroyed. Lord Beerus, that's hardly fair. But also, don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when he uploads new videos.